President Bola Tinubu has approved 50% electricity subsidy for public hospitals and educational institutions to ease their financial burden. Minister of State for Health, Dr. Tunji Alausa, announced the subsidy on Thursday while speaking to journalists in Kaduna State after inaugurating several projects at the National Air Care Center, including a 200-capacity auditorium, student hostel, oxygen plant, molecular laboratory, powerhouse, ENT specialist clinic, operating theatre, and female children ward. Alausa stated that the subsidy, part of President Tinubu's efforts to support the health and education sectors, will be implemented soon by the Minister of Power. He adds that the initiative is to significantly lower energy costs for public hospitals, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education, allowing these institutions to allocate more resources towards delivering quality services. And to unpack this, I am joined by Olusesan Okunade, who is an economic analyst. Good evening, glad to have you join me on the news.
Good evening, Debola, and good evening to all our viewers across the globe. Glad to be here this evening.
All right. What are your thoughts on the 50% federal government grants on subsidy for universities when it comes to electricity?
Thank you very much. A very good initiative by the federal government to ease the burden of students and citizens. But for people like us, we have it with mixed feelings because we understand that in as much we know the impact of energy costs on organization, we feel it shouldn't be only for government parastatals that will enjoy this, that we're currently staying. When you look at the infrastructure of some of these schools and the hospitals we're talking about, you discover that majority of the common man are actually struggling to go to private school, private hospitals, because most of the time you have that clause of people who are civil servants going on strike for one failure on the part of the government or the other. Not too long, you heard about the doctors, planning to go on strike. And by the time you put this, you implement this which the government is saying, which some of us believe that at times we don't have the full blown of it. It's just at the periphery. You have it for 1 or 2 months, and later some of those things come back to stay. And aside that, who monitors the expense on the part of these civil servants to make sure that they adhere and this actually impact on their expenses? These are few gaps we have seen, and we feel that even though it's a good development so that you can alleviate the problem of the masses, but there are no control mechanisms to monitor if this, when implemented, will be used as directed by the federal government. And that's why I have concern, because how many people patronizes public hospital as we speak? We understand the fact that because of infrastructure gap, a lot of people are already taking their faith into their hands. How many people go to public school? People who rather wants to go to private because of strike in, strike out, a course of 4 years turning to 6 years. We feel it's something that should be holistic, not just specific to government parastatal like schools and the hospitals.
Yeah, Mr. Okunade, well, let's stay with the issues of universities when it comes to electricity. Now, we have tertiary institutions like University of Lagos owing, over ₦1 billion. We also have University of Ibadan owing about 495 million naira, which they have refuted. Let's talk about the universities now squarely going forward. What can they do to manage costs when it comes to electricity tariffs?
Okay, thank you very much. Being a player in that sector, I think there's something that we are missing. All this university needs to go into what we call submetering into their schools. What do I mean? You are being bulk billed by the discos, whether a core or Ibadan, whichever that you fall under. But you need to have accurate billing of what your people are using. Even if you are going to subsidize that to them, you should be able to take it. A lot of porters in some of these schools consume free electricity and is being bought by the management of the school, which on its own, people waste it, just like we have it in the secular world. So I feel one of the things that they need to do, if they need to cash on this, is to go into what we call submetering, where it may not be discos, because the discos is not interested. There are organizations who provide these services in such a way that when you have a particular transformer, you can meet out all the people within that transformer and be able to have what they are using, and even have prepayment solution at which they buy token at a particular stipend so that you can recoup some of those things. What this will tame is that when you pay for something, you manage it. But things we don't pay for, you discover that people just use it freely, feeling that definitely the school will pay for it. So I think one of the aspects that this school needs to take to caution some of these high bills they are getting is to sectionalize their areas, do go into submetering of those areas and subsidize the rate so that people start paying for electricity. Electricity shouldn't be free. With that, at least they can recoup few funds even for them to go. Even for students, we can start cautioning. I've seen a lot of them that does not even stay on the campus outside there. They pay for electricity bill. Why is it that within the school premises, because there is hostel within, you won't want to pay for electricity bill? You can subsidize it if you are within the hostel, but it's high time that people actually pay for what they actually consume, even if it's a subsidized rate, and the school can be able to generate little revenue for themselves to be able to augment whatever the government is giving to them from the center.
Okay, let's talk about the move of the House of Representatives, and they've said that they will pass a bill to ensure federal universities are removed from the Band A to lessen the huge bill on them. Do you think this move is appropriate?
Well, it's like giving and taking. When you take them out of Band A and they consume that much, the energy loss we are talking about will continue to increase. And one thing you should know is that you might think you are doing them a favor, but you are causing harm to another segment of the economy. So I feel rather than removing them from Band A, if indeed, because Band A are priority customers, they have 24-hour supply, of which we believe they need as educational institution and health institution. But part of the things you need to do is how to curb the wastages that are actually happening in some of those sectors. And the only way you can do that is going the route of submitting and monitoring, accounting for energy being used by every section of that particular organization or institution. And with that, we can do it. I won't subscribe to the aspect of saying that they should be removed from Band A because it's more or less an institution that provides service, and the other power sector, which is DISCO, also provides service, and they need to survive with time. So if they are enjoying electricity, what everybody is yearning for is to have 24-hour supply. And when you have it, you should be able to pay for it based on what the electricity DISCO are telling us that a service reflected. So all they need to do is to tame the wastages that they have within the system, look for a way to minimize, and I'm sure with that they will be able to reduce their bills that they are currently faced with the DISCOs.
Well, thank you so much for your time on the news. Economic Analyst Olusesan Okunade. Many thanks indeed.
It's a pleasure to be with you this evening, Adebola, and greeting to all our viewers.